Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people retire, and somehow they become younger? Not younger on the outside, I mean younger inside. They laugh more, they try new things, they wake up excited, they have stories to tell. They have that little spark in their eyes that makes you think, wow, this person is 70, but their spirit is 30. But then there are other people. They retire, and slowly something changes. The smile becomes smaller. The days become quieter. They stop trying new things. They stop looking forward to tomorrow. And the strange thing is, sometimes it has nothing to do with their health. They may be physically fine, but somewhere along the way, they stopped feeding the part of themselves that makes them feel alive. And this is something Carl Jung understood deeply about human beings. He believed that we don't stop growing just because we get older. Actually, for many people, the later years of life can become the most meaningful years, because when you're younger, you spend a lot of time trying to build a life. But as you get older, you finally get the chance to understand yourself. You finally get to ask, what truly makes me happy? What do I want to experience? What kind of person do I want to become? But here's the problem. Many people make two simple mistakes after retirement that slowly steal their energy, their happiness, and that youthful feeling inside. And the crazy part, most people don't even realize they are doing it. They think they are just enjoying retirement. But little by little, these habits can make life feel smaller. So today, we're going to talk about those two things you should never do after retirement if you want to stay young in your mind, your heart, and your spirit. And don't worry, this is not a boring lecture. We're just having a conversation. Like two friends sitting down with a cup of coffee talking about life. Because honestly, the best lessons in life don't always come from books. Sometimes they come from a 75-year-old person telling you, son, I learned something the hard way. And I want to hear from you too. Before we start, tell me in the comments, what is one thing you enjoy most about getting older? Maybe it's more freedom, maybe it's more wisdom, maybe it's finally having time for yourself. I read your comments, and I can tell you something. The stories people share here are sometimes better than the video itself. So let's talk about the first mistake that can quietly take away your youth after retirement, and it's something that sounds harmless, something many people even think is the reward they deserve, but over time, it can become a trap. Mistake number 1, losing your purpose. Now, before anyone gets upset, let me say this clearly. Retirement is not the time to become a machine. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m., put on a suit, and pretend you're going to a business meeting just to prove you're still important. No, you worked hard. You spent years showing up. You paid your bills. You took care of responsibilities. You deserve peace. You deserve slow mornings. You deserve sitting outside with a cup of coffee and watching the world move. That is beautiful. But there is a difference between resting and giving up on yourself. And sometimes people accidentally cross that line. They think, now that I'm retired, I don't need goals anymore. But the human mind doesn't work that way. Your mind still needs something to chase. Your heart still needs something to care about. Your spirit still needs something that makes you say, today matters. Think about your phone. You can have the most expensive phone in the world, beautiful screen, amazing camera, everything. But if you never charge it, eventually it becomes a very expensive paperweight. People are the same. We need to recharge, yes. But we also need to use our energy, because energy that never moves starts to disappear. Carl Jung talked a lot about something called the inner self. The part of you that is deeper than your job title. Because here's something interesting. When people introduce themselves, especially when they are younger, they often say, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I work in business. But what happens when the job disappears? Many people suddenly ask, "Who am I now?" And that question can feel uncomfortable, because for years the job was not just a paycheck, it was an identity. It gave structure, it gave connection, it gave a reason to wake up. So after retirement, one of the biggest challenges is not having more free time. The biggest challenge is learning what to do with that freedom. Let me share something funny. I once heard someone say, "Retirement is wonderful. You can do anything you want." And the retired person said, "Yes, but now I have no idea what I want." And honestly, many people can relate. When you're working, you dream about freedom. You think, if I had more time, I would travel. If I had more time, I would learn guitar. If I had more time, I would write that book. If I had more time, I would finally start that hobby. Then retirement arrives. You have the time. And suddenly your brain says, "Wait, where is the instruction manual?" But the beautiful thing is, you get to create a new version of yourself. Maybe you were always the person who wanted to paint. Maybe you always wanted to garden. Maybe you wanted to learn another language. Maybe you wanted to help young people. Maybe you wanted to tell your life story. And don't underestimate simple things. People sometimes think purpose has to be something huge. They think, "I need to change the world." No, sometimes purpose is much smaller. Purpose can be taking care of your garden every morning, calling a friend who lives alone, teaching your grandchildren something you know, joining a walking group, helping someone who needs your experience. Small actions can give a person a big reason to smile. I remember a story about a woman named Margaret. She retired after working for almost 40 years. At first, she was excited. She said, "I finally have time for myself." She slept in. She watched her favorite shows. She enjoyed relaxing, and everyone told her, "You're living the dream." But after some time, she noticed something. She wasn't unhappy, but she wasn't excited either. Her days started feeling like copies of each other. Wake up, breakfast, television, sleep, repeat. One day her granddaughter asked her, "Grandma, what was your favorite thing you did this week?" And Margaret stopped. She couldn't think of anything. That question stayed in her mind. A few days later, she decided to volunteer at a local community center. She only went once a week, nothing dramatic, but she came home smiling. Her family noticed. Her granddaughter said, "Grandma, you seem different." And Margaret laughed. She said, "I think I found myself again." Isn't that amazing? Sometimes we don't need a new life. Sometimes we just need a new reason to participate in the life we already have. And this brings us to something important. Getting older does not mean becoming less valuable. Actually, your experience becomes your superpower. Think about it. A 25-year-old may have energy, but a 75-year-old has stories. They have survived things. They have learned lessons. They have made mistakes. They know things that cannot be learned from Google. And believe me, the internet knows a lot. But Google has never raised children, paid bills, survived heartbreak, or sat through a family argument at Thanksgiving. Experience is something you earn. Nobody can download it. Now let me ask you something. Do you think people lose their youth because of age, or because they stop being curious? I'm really curious about your answer, because I've met people in their 80s who are still excited about life, and I've met people in their 40s who already feel tired inside. Age is a number. But curiosity is the fuel. Now let's move to the second mistake. And this one is very common, especially after retirement. It's something that can slowly make people feel older, even when their body is still strong. And this one has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with appearance. It has everything to do with the human connection. Mistake number 2. Isolating yourself from life. One of the biggest mistakes people make after retirement is slowly disappearing from the world. At first it feels comfortable. You think, I'm just enjoying my peace. And sometimes you are. There is nothing wrong with enjoying quiet time. A peaceful afternoon alone can be wonderful. But humans are not built to completely disconnect. We need people. We need laughter. We need conversations. We need someone to say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And we need someone to answer, "Actually, let me tell you what happened today." Because sometimes a 5-minute conversation can completely change your mood. Before you leave, I want to share one last thought with you. First of all, thank you. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. Out of all the videos you could have watched today, you chose to spend these moments here, and that truly means a lot. I hope this wasn't just another video that you watch and forget 5 minutes later. I hope it gave you something to think about. Maybe it reminded you of someone you love. Maybe it reminded you of yourself. Or maybe it simply reminded you that no matter how many birthdays you've celebrated, life still has something beautiful waiting around the corner. Because the truth is, every single one of us is growing older. There isn't a single person on this planet who can stop time. But growing older is not the same as growing empty. It is not the same as becoming invisible, and it certainly does not mean your best years are behind you. In fact, some of the happiest people I've ever met weren't the youngest people in the room. They were the people who had learned to enjoy the little things. A quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a walk in the sunshine, a phone call from an old friend, a grandchild's laughter, a hobby they loved, a good conversation. Those little moments may seem ordinary, but one day you realize those ordinary moments are actually the richest parts of life. Carl Jung believed that the second half of life wasn't meant to be smaller than the first. It was meant to be deeper, less about proving yourself to the world and more about discovering yourself. So if you're retired or you're getting close to retirement, I want you to remember something. You still matter. You still have something to give. You still have stories that only you can tell. You still have wisdom that someone younger needs to hear. You still have kindness to share. You still have laughter to spread. And yes, you still have dreams waiting to be lived. Don't let anyone make you believe there's an expiration date on purpose. There isn't. As long as you're breathing, there's still another chapter waiting to be written, and if today's conversation made you smile, if it made you pause for a moment, if it encouraged you in any way, please take just a second to like this video. It may seem like a small click, but it helps YouTube share this message with more people who may need a little hope, a little encouragement, or simply a reminder that life is far from over. And if you haven't already, I'd love to invite you to subscribe and become part of this growing community. This isn't just another YouTube channel. It's a place where people from all over the world come together to talk about life, psychology, Carl Jung's wisdom, personal growth, healthy aging, and the quiet lessons that help us become stronger, happier, and more at peace with ourselves. One of my favorite parts of making these videos is reading your comments. Honestly, some of you have lived through incredible experiences. You've overcome challenges. You've learned lessons that no book can teach. And when you share those stories, you're not just talking to me. You're helping thousands of other people who are reading those comments too. So before you go, I'd love to ask you one simple question. What is one thing you refuse to stop doing, no matter how old you become? Maybe it's dancing. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's making people laugh. Maybe it's loving with all your heart. Whatever it is, write it in the comments. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Because here, we're not just counting birthdays. We're collecting memories. We're not just getting older. We're getting wiser. We're learning. We're growing. We're discovering new parts of ourselves with every passing year. So keep laughing. Keep asking questions. Keep trying new things. Keep calling the people you love. Keep making memories. Keep finding reasons to smile, even on the ordinary days. And never forget this. The moment you stop being curious about life is the moment life starts feeling smaller. So stay curious, stay connected, stay grateful, and keep your heart open to whatever tomorrow brings. Because your story isn't over. There are still places to visit. There are still people to inspire. There are still dreams to chase. And there are still beautiful moments waiting for you. Thank you once again for being here. I appreciate every single one of you more than you know. Until next time, take good care of your mind, take good care of your heart, keep your spirit young, and I'll see you in the next video.